Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Silent Hill Ascension pre-show. My name is Eduardo. I'm joined here with the, as always, lovely Layla. And we got a show for you tonight. Layla, if you could run our audience through, well, what we run them through every day.
Oh, Eduardo, it would be my pleasure. So welcome, you are here for the pre-show with me and Eduardo at 5:40 p.m. Pacific. At 6 p.m. Pacific, you will see the Silent Hill Ascension live show. And then as soon as that indoor stream is over, you can come right back to us for a good old time in the post-show. Hey, if you don't know what Silent Hill Ascension is, Eduardo, I believe you have some details about interactive streaming.
Absolutely. So, if you're tuning in this early, you probably know about it, but you love to hear it. Silent Hill Ascension is a socially interactive streaming series where all of you collectively shape and experience its ever-evolving story. You'll collaborate and compete with others to try to make the choices you want to see happen occur. Now, when each decision ends, that choice locks in as canon. It's now a part of the story. That's the version of the show everyone sees. That's how the episodes get packaged. That's how people experience the show over time. That canon story ends up being shaped by you, the participating audience, every day. Now, our production team is going to throw on screen while we talk about it the iconic scene of the last week, where essentially, well, I'm not going to spoil it right away. We'll have Carl, and for those who haven't seen it, we'll let it do. But like, Layla, let's set the scene here, right? So last week, the children were missing. That was a really big part of kind of what happened.
Correct. Quite a focus, and this is a very interesting dalliance that we're watching here, as it were, which is to say that even though his grandson is missing, Carl is distracted by something else from his past over here.
Oh yeah, no. This is, if you haven't watched this, we'll talk about this in the post show. This was one of the closest decision actually for the audience that made last week. You had the choice between three options for Mete and Carl. One of which was nothing, but you chose lovers and you got to see the result there. Last week, actually, I was kind of in the back room watching Layla and Noah discuss because there was a lot of drama with interpersonal relationship. Carl and Mete for sure, but as well, Eric, Krista, and Rachel were another big part of that focus in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, the decision was even in the pre-show, and then as soon as we called attention to it, or maybe right before even or right after, somebody I think rallied and got lovers, I think a 2% edge or something. It was truly neck and neck, but yeah, very interesting. Krista and Eric, this new thing that's heating up because, you know, Krista may have beef with Rachel, but doesn't seem to have beef with Eric. In fact, she seems quite interested in him.
Well, yeah, that's actually one of the decisions that's open, right? Is how will Eric respond to Krista? It's not closing today. You still got some time, but that's a big thing. Is Krista's pretty much gone forward. Now the question is, what will Eric respond by? But having to combat evil horrors together generally can't bring people closer. It's a tale as old as time for sure. Now, all that said, one of the things in Pennsylvania that happened is they're looking for Faith. Now, Xavier was part of that search, but they find Xavier without Faith, returning to the Foundation, and Xavier's in a catatonic state. Now, Rachel learns something from there. You probably know about this scene, but if you haven't had a chance, we're gonna put it on air so that you can catch up with us. So that's our setup scene for today. I'll let our production team put it on and enjoy.
We found him on the front steps like this.
Xavier? Where's Faith?
He hasn't said a word since we found him. I'm sorry, Rachel. Faith wasn't with him.
No, this isn't happening. You said he was protecting her.
I thought he was. I'm so sorry. Rachel, I have to leave town.
What?
I have to find answers. If there's a way of stopping the withering, I can't do that here.
What about Faith?
The new leadership will decide if the Foundation will continue to search for her.
New leadership? What are you...
Xavier had this letter when we found him. I'll leave it with you. Rachel, never lose hope.
In the event I get lost in the fog of the Withering and can't find my way back, let my position, my power fall to Sister Krista Lee, who has proven herself true and worthy of this role? Beware of Sister Rachel Hernandez, whose lust for power blinds her. She cannot be trusted. Krista? You said I was blessed. Was it all a lie? Tell me!
Welcome back, everybody. Whether that was your first time watching it or you got a chance to rewatch it, I hope you enjoyed that. Again here, not just that Xavier's catatonic, but that Rachel has something on top of Faith to worry about, but essentially finding out Xavier was not exactly the biggest fan of her. Thoughts, Layla?
Yeah, two quick things. One, I think I would like to make sure that we talk about Barbara in this scene, which is to say she really showed up and said, my job here is done without having done anything, which I love that kind of energy. And then the other is just that, much like Rachel, I also don't care, or I present nonchalance until someone tells me I can't have something, and then suddenly I care, even if I didn't really want that thing in the first place. So it's a good scene. There's a lot there for me.
No, that's totally fair. And now I have to wonder if Barbara has a tuxedo in her closet. But anyways, we're talking about the decision graphic closing this day. So that's going to come up on the screen. Layla, if you could present to our audience as soon as that's up, what is closing today as a decision?
Absolutely. So today we're deciding how will Carl help Astrid? Will he A, get intervention from Aurora, B, ask Britt to keep an eye on her, or C, demand backup from Detective Haugen? As you can see, it is a fate decision, so A is our redemption choice, B is our suffering choice, and C is our damnation choice. And check it in. It does look like Aurora's, well, getting intervention from Aurora's has got a hefty lead. So.
No, yeah, that was like the case before, and I'm not surprised it's still the case. That's probably the outcome we're going to see tonight, unless the audience rallies something incredible here. But Astrid's kind of been on that path to redemption. There was just a suffering option that kind of got chosen by the audience recently in regards to Britt. That was the scene that played out very recently. But very much so here. As Orson goes missing, it seems that like a lot of the attention is turning on Astrid, and I don't mean onto. I literally mean on, as in pile on here.
Yeah. It's one thing to have your kid go missing. It's another thing to have your kid go missing, and then suddenly, it seems like the whole world is also against you while, everyone's looking for the poor kid. I do not envy Astrid here whatsoever, and if I were her, I think I would be a lot less composed.
Yeah, that's a totally fair take, Layla, here. But, speaking of missing children, we've got Pennsylvania as well. That's going to be up on your screen for you, the audience at home, to enjoy. Layla's going to walk us through the story so far in Pennsylvania because, well, Faith is also missing.
Faith is also very missing. So Rachel and Eric argue about how to look for Faith. Eric leaves Rachel to continue searching. Meanwhile, Xavier returns in a catatonic state, which is the scene we all just watched together. And without Faith, and Rachel learns that he put Krista in charge. Meanwhile, Krista and Eric grow closer as they're forced to survive the horrors of the Withering. Listen, the fans, and I do mean the literal hand fans on Friday, said all there is to say about that situation. There is a scandalo afoot, Eduardo.
No, for sure. I mean, again, it's easy to grow closer as you go through those horrors, as you have to fight the monsters, as there was that drink in the bar after Toby passed, a little bit more in the laundromat. They got slightly interrupted, I'd argue. A little bit of action.
By a monster. No big deal.
Yeah,
sure.
No. Yeah. And I mean, in it too, Krista's really, focusing on the situation at hand, going like, oh, well, doesn't seem like the Wyvering's stopping. And also turns out blaming Rachel for it.
Yeah. And I can follow that logic, Eduardo. You know, honestly speaking, I can follow that logic, and especially like, hey, Krista Lee, as a fellow hater, I too find any excuse to blame the person annoying me at the moment for whatever inconvenience or horror I am experiencing at the moment. So, fair enough, is all I gotta say.
No, yeah, it's well, I mean, you had one person die. After all, it can't be the right one. It's like, oh well, let's go move on to the next. I mean, typical, I guess, kind of human sacrifice approach. Now,
Yeah.
all that said here, I did find though, speaking of relationships, still that relationship between Rachel and Eric, while it is tense because of the situation, I didn't actually find it to be Rachel's dealing with a lot, has been looking for their daughter for a while. And while she hasn't been treating Eric in the best fashion, I actually found the risky situation to seem to bring them a little closer as, kind of so to speak, the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, there was a moment where, Rachel, at the very least, like, tried to bring him into the fold and really questioned the hierarchy of the found. Well, I don't know if she questioned it, but she really took a moment to at least look at the hierarchy of the foundation and realized that it was the thing limiting Eric from participating in the search for his own daughter, a pretty, I don't know, crucial moment in his life, I would say. So there was a moment where I could definitely see where you're coming from, but man, Rachel seems like a tough customer to live with, and I respect it. I respect the hustle, but unless Eric shores up his vertebra and really gets a steel spine, I don't think he's going to be very happy in that household. I don't think he's ever been very happy in that household.
No, that's for sure here. And kind of speaking about it, right? We have our current decision, which is the other relationship right across. How's that doing, Layla, by the way? But kind of what is Carl still, I guess, going to try to have that intervention?
Yes, so it seems like the getting intervention from Aurora is still very much winning, but there is some effort, it seems, to get the suffering choice into more of a position. It is the one in third place, so it's gonna take some effort, but hey, if you're interested in asking Britt to keep an eye on her, now's your time.
Well, Britt is definitely a character. We should look at our story in Norway so far, because Britt kind of appeared these last few shows, and I think that's worth highlighting. But story so far in Norway is going to appear on screen. Layla, if you could walk our audience through that.
I would love to. So in Norway, Orson is still missing, and Haugen decides to shift the operation from rescue to recovery. Meanwhile, Astrid confronts Britt about her phone call, demanding to know where Orson is. And as we saw earlier, Carl and Mette have a little smooch. They have a little kiss, Eduardo. A little distraction, a little dalliance.
Hey, and you know what I love about that, by the way, is like we have, right, so many fake decisions. It's like we keep telling our audience, your decisions matter in terms of what's going to happen to these characters. You got to do the endure streams. You got to do the mindfulness puzzles. You kind of have to, if you want the characters to have the outcomes you want, you got to do these systems. The Carl and Mette was not nothing to do with redemption, suffering, or damnation. It's literally, what do you want to see? What do you have fun with? And I mean, personally, when I saw Lovers and Nothing, I was like, yes, come. I was like in the back room, and I was like, come on, Lovers, because I love the drama. The drama is so good. It's that's part of like what I enjoy a lot in, I think, shows in general is, we have the main plot, right? The kids are missing. It's like there's a whole the foundation, like all of this is like pretty serious, right? Monsters appearing, but they find the time to find each other, and that's important. That's very important.
Yeah, it's giving. This is one of those things where it's the same kind of thing where I would get like a gossipy phone call from somebody with like a friend with an insane family, and it would just leave me going, "Oh, messy, oh, mess, which is my favorite kind of story to get from friends. So I'm right there with you. I was rooting for Lovers, and Lovers won out in the end. Not because listen, there's plenty of. I'm a romantic at heart. There's plenty of love stories I'm genuinely invested in, and I want those characters to be happy. No, I'm looking for delicious mess here, and I'm getting it, Eduardo.
That's excellent. I'm glad you're finding it. I hope you, the audience at home, is enjoying that too. Let's talk very briefly, because the show is going to be in a couple of minutes. Because Brit's kind of come up, and there was that phone call with Brit, and then Astrid confronts Brit about it. But that confrontation certainly did not go how Astrid wanted to.
No, not at all, because it ended with Astrid. She hasn't exactly had a great time with, reality and understanding what's actually happening in front of her. And just adding another question of like, hey, I didn't actually call you with your son in tow, and you're making a fool out of yourself in public. Not like a great layer emotionally for her to add onto her son being missing, her dad macking on her aunt, her sister now appearing, and then oh god, everybody also thinks she's out of her mind.
Yeah, and the decision closing means we might see more of that. I mean, because again, the decision's closing means that the scene's attached to them. Now, time for the show. We got an endurance scene, so our production team's going to put up what you're going to face, and Layla, if you could walk us through that.
One of the main story characters enters a room only to find one of you, an audience member, dead, being eaten by a snarler. The snarler is a dog-like monster that feeds on human flesh, and definitely not a boy you want to pet. I would like to note, for our faithful followers, still spelled B-O-I. The character gets attacked by another snarler and will have to kick it off and escape, avoiding obstacles thanks to inputs from you, the audience. Eduardo, I think you have some more details for us.
Sure, I spell it B-O-I in our prompter because I care. Now, that said, one of the big things with these endurance scenes, right, is that if a character fills enough of them, they may not survive future encounters, and that may lead to their permanent death in the story. Remember that this is affecting their hope, and characters that are dead don't have hope. Again, rest in peace, Toby. Now, these endurance scenes are one of the best places to earn large amounts of influence points. That's one of the biggest benefits you get from tuning in live, is that whether you succeed or fail, there are influence points at the end of it for you. Now, remember that again, whether you succeed or you fail is what's modifying the story. It's not a judgment on you, right? It's this idea that like the characters get developed from it. So it's helping introduce a little bit of chaos into the story, into the narrative, to make sure that like there's the outcome you want to decide, and that there's the outcome that occurs.
Absolutely. And hey, Eduardo, we only got 2 minutes left, speaking of outcomes, until the show. So would you mind recapping us and taking us out?
Sure, of course, my pleasure. So again, Pennsylvania and Norway are starting to meld in terms of their direction here. Children missing, Orson in Norway, Faith in Pennsylvania. That's a big key aspect here of what we're looking for. Relationships developing. Carl and Mette. On the other side, we have that triangle between Eric, Krista, and Rachel. Rachel and Astrid on both sides have to deal with essentially a lot. Their child is missing, but on top of that, they have their own aspects going on. Obviously, Astrid with the interpersonal relationships, and Rachel on the side of the Foundation. Now, also, while we're starting to see the monsters straight up appearing, no more like mystery, what's going on? Nope. They're basically on your screen and in front of our characters. And as our dear BioGeek93 from some time ago did, eating audience members alive, as we love to do with people who are lucky enough to win. Now, a reminder after the show that we will be back, both myself and Layla, for the post show. We'll break down everything that's been going on. All that's left for us to do now is the show's going to start in about a minute. We really hope you enjoy it. For now, bye. All right, welcome back for now. I'm going to actually throw it to Layla to help kind of explain what's been going on here.
Hi, everybody. Actually, just coming back on for just a second to say that we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So just hang tight here with us in the stream, and Silent Hill Ascension will be on in just a moment.